subscribe our channel, stay till the end of the stories for more twist and turn. Comment us about what kind of stories you like to hear. 46/male, planning on leaving my wife. 49, female, and can hardly stomach the thought. Advice on verbiage, letter. For reasons that are probably unimportant, I have come to the devastating conclusion that I do not love my wife anymore, after 23 years of marriage. This has been a slow realization, and I believe I have been living in denial for at least a decade. For life reasons, I have never gone through with actually leaving her. Sick family members, a small house disaster, job challenges, young children, etc. I talked to a lawyer about 8 years ago and it was so real, so raw, that I chickened out, blaming the young ages of our children at the time. Our kids are 11, 17. I think they will be mature enough to handle this. Her family will be devastated, I feel. We are very close. They are all I have, as I have no family of my own in this country. However, I am willing to sacrifice even the loss of them, should they disown me, as I am just so unhappy. I can't keep pretending to be in love. I am not even sure if I want to be with someone else. There have been other emotional affairs, that frankly, 99% of the time, the other person was not aware of. More crushes and minor obsessions with people that make me feel good, or that I admire. I feel that this is not fair to my wife, to myself, to my children. I am not going to write her a letter and give it to her, leave it for her. However, I may use it to read, as literally I could vomit thinking about this. I don't want to hurt her. I care for her and there have been no sentinel events like an affair, severe abuse, etc. She just does not satisfy my needs. Is somewhat cold. And as I started with, I simply do not love her anymore romantically, and am not looking forward to our time together alone as our children grow older and eventually leave, something I should be looking forward to somewhat, I feel. I have the following. X. I can't keep living the life I have right now. For the past several years, I have been trying to fake it to make it with our relationship, mainly because I care for you so very much. I care for you as the mother of our children, as a friend, but not as a romantic partner. I cherish our time together but feel that it is no longer fair to you, or me, to keep living this lie. When I look at our future, my future, the only circumstance in which I see myself happy is me living alone. I want to continue parenting our children and providing for them financially. I know that this will be met with anger, denial, and confusion, but this is my decision. Any feedback or similar experiences would be most welcome. Thank you. I'm also in tremendous pain, so although straightforward answers are welcome, please do so with kindness. Edit, adding some additional information. I cut this from a below response. It seems the reasons behind this are important to some people, after all. We tried counseling 8 years ago. It fizzled horribly. She could not listen to my needs, and took them all as personal criticism. She brought this up recently when I told her I was going to therapy. She wanted to come, to listen to what I had to say. I said this was for me, and me alone. Her response was, "Are you just going to talk shit about me again the whole time? It's not in me to do this." I know what I said, and I phrased it appropriately. Even the therapist at the time told me this. I have told her I need verbal affirmation, compliments, anything positive other than the constant criticisms. Her response was, "Well, now I'm not complimenting you, because you're asking for compliments. It has to be natural. Only to be followed with consistent criticism and zero positive affirmation." She has said "I love you" spontaneously, 5 times over our entire marriage. It took her years to say "I love you" too, rather than just an affectionate HMMM or grunt. I'm confident, and my self-esteem and ego were able to withstand this, as I do believe she loved me. However, as I grow older, I realize this is a problem and I need more. I have been depressed lately, and in the past, when my mother died, for example. I have stood and cried at the kitchen counter, with my wife across the room, who has said "I think you need therapy, to exercise, breathing exercises instead of offering sympathy, empathy, a hug. When my mum died, we were both crying in the room, I at one side, she at the other. After 5 minutes of sobbing, I was the one who went over to her, to give her comfort. I'll never forget this. The thought of being with someone kind, loving, would be wonderful. However, the thought of being alone is similarly wonderful. The constant negativity in the household and criticism drains me. The thought of being alone, with my own hobbies, without having to pander to this and deal with critique, energizes me. Finally, I got off the phone with my sister this morning, and discussed the plan with her. Her response? Finally. She described how the whole family sees how she treats me, talks to me, the kids, and says I've been too patient, too selfless for so long. I feel so vindicated at the moment, but also a fool for essentially putting up with low-grade abuse, if it is not inappropriate to use this term, for years. There is much more to this story, and of course, this is only my side. However, my family says that they are certain her family will also understand, and some members have actually talked to me in the past about how she is, how she talks to me. Do not tell her how to feel, it's not fair to you. Do not predict the future, I'll probably live alone. It seems you aren't being totally honest with yourself. You seem to want that affair, romance, crush, and dabbled in it over the years. Have you ever tried counseling? You love your wife but don't want to spend time with her. Why? After a long marriage, relationships change. Often it is more of a deep friendship than romance and sex. Why don't people get this? You are perceptive. I don't want an affair. I could never do that to my wife, or to the other person. However, I do want romance, warmth and affection, which my wife cannot give appropriately. I have been depressed lately, and in the past, when my mother died, for example. I have stood and cried at the kitchen counter, with my wife across the room, who has said I think you need therapy, to exercise, breathing exercises instead of offering sympathy, empathy, a hug. Edit, she has said I love you spontaneously, 5 times over our entire marriage. It took her years to say I love you too rather than just an affectionate HMMM or grunt. I'm confident, and my self-esteem and ego were able to withstand this, as I do believe she loved me. However, as I grow older, I realize this is a problem and I need more. We tried counseling 8 years ago. It fizzled horribly. She could not listen to my needs, and took them all as personal criticism. I understand your final sentence. I completely understand that a long-term marriage will lose its spark. This is really about her coldness, emotional unavailability, and the fact that I do not want to grow old with someone like this. In retrospect, she has been like this for a long time. Our whole lives. I guess my needs have changed, or these particular needs have become more important, as I grew older. I hope this makes sense. Thank you for your comments. Just remember that you've had years and years to consider this. You are in a completely different stage of relationship grief than she will be. You are already in acceptance. You did all of the grieving in silence, inside of your own mind. She will be in the first stages of grief, likely beginning with denial, and it will be cruel to try to enforce your acceptance over her denial. This is my final decision is a horrible way to end this. Yes, you may not want to hear I can change or let's talk about this. But that's because you already tried those things for 10 years in your own mind. You thought maybe she will change. Maybe things will change and we can make it work. And you never said anything out loud, and then nothing changed because how could it have, and then you grieved and you moved on. I'm not saying that if you had said it out loud it definitely would have made a difference. But when you didn't say it out loud and lived in denial and didn't communicate, it definitely left no room for change. And now you have finished grieving and you are ready to move on. But I cannot stress enough that this will not be her experience. Honestly, she may take the same 10 years that you took. But her clock begins now. Do not try to smother her responses with "it's over, I don't want to talk about it, there is nothing you can do." Don't be cruel to her right now. This whole thing is going to hurt. But you will make it worse if you come into the conversation analytically. That will poison the whole well. You are going to hurt her. That is a very unrealistic expectation to have if you think you want or have to do everything you can to ease the pain. And it's fine, it's okay. It's part of divorce. But the big thing to do is be reasonable, clear, and open. And after all this time together, it shouldn't come as a complete shock to her. If it is going to be a complete shock, then my opinion, you owe it to her to not spring this on her all at once. But if you say, this should come as no surprise to her, and she can honestly say, I saw this coming, then by all means you are heading in the right direction. It's gonna take time and more than one all-encompassing conversation though. And she's gonna go through all the stages of grief, as is her right. Hold on tight and good luck. If you are getting ready to blindside your family, please have a plan in place for your children. They are in their formative years. Divorce is never easy, but especially hard on children. To you, it may feel they are mature enough to handle it, but the reality is they are not fully matured and will need help navigating this. The way you handle this will affect them into adulthood, be it positive or negative. Great thought. I do have a loose plan, but obviously this will depend a lot on her. They avoid her, respectfully. Sometimes she is hard to be around. I think, and I will never speak negatively of her to support this, that they will understand, especially the older one. Thanks for listening so far. If story have an update, we will post here. Like, subscribe to our channel for upcoming stories.